Jane.
Adrian.
Heyman and Dean.
Dean
And we got Bob.
I'm the two in the middle, I think.
Oh, sorry, yes, Saroja and Jane. Yes.
Maureen and two others.
Bob. Yeah. You're on lunch.
Pardon? I'll
Go
take
on.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Bob.
It's great to see you all.
Great to see you.
You know, it's non-duality we talk about, one without a second. Now, just think of this room a couple of hours ago. It was empty. Might have been a cat or two in it, that was all. Look at it now and feel the bubbling energy and warmth that's being expressed into it. You take it in. Some of us, all of us won't be happy. Some of us will have problems. But breathe them out. Let them go into the atmosphere and breathe in what is being breathed out from the other. And I can't teach you anything. And I can't tell you anything. All I can do is point toward and ask you to see for yourself what I'm pointing to. And realise and recognise that what we point to is the great reality. The one essence that the patterns, shapes and forms experiences, expresses and everything. They have many different labels for it. They got it, God, absolute, this, that and other, higher power, lower power, all different words and concepts. But when you look into the Word and see that every word we've ever spoken and ever likely to speak has been picked up. We're not born with any words, and we've got labels or words we believe ourselves to be. But what they tell us, it's Satchidananda, translated existence, consciousness and bliss, being, knowing and loving to be. And if you've got any concepts, which we do have, that's less than that, you're not doing yourself a favour. We're locking ourselves up into these conceptual images and believing, like I did for years, that I was a miserable person, I was unhappy, the world was against me and I was crooked on the world and everything in it, and dirty on everybody. It's not so. It is that being, pure loving to be, that is expressing through all this manifestation as everything. The tree, the flower, the birds, the animals, all enjoying that beingness. And see how that changes in most of them. A flower, for instance, put a bulb into the ground, and the life energy that's there with the warmth and the water and the sun will warm it, and it'll expand and grow and become a beautiful flower. We came into this world as infants, little children, didn't have any words, just being, and we learnt words. That became a problem for us, because instead of seeing the essence that we are that life, the one life that's expressing, patterning, shaping, forming, we took ourselves to be the person, the persona, the separate entity, the mask, the conceptual image. And that conceptual image, of course, with all the words we learnt and the things that are going on around us, didn't make us too happy. Lots of problems. But look at it. Is there anyone not here that doesn't love to be? Even though it's seemingly miserable. The very idea of being and knowing that. There's that sense of hope that can change, it can be different. What would give you that if there wasn't some innate knowledge that there is more to it than this? I don't have to be what they told me, that I'm a miserable sinner. I'm a poor, unhappy human being. Look at the word human being. We call ourselves human beings. Take away the label human. And we believe in a God. If you believe in a God, well, God has become the supreme being. Separation, me and God, duality. We're the human being, God's the supreme being. What if you take away that word supreme? What if you take away that word human? We're all sitting here now. Try and separate your beingness. Tell me you are not being. And you can't deny it, can you? What the being is you mightn't know. But there is that sense of being and being well. Well-being. Not the miserable conceptual image we take ourselves to be. But pure being, knowing and loving to be. And you're expressing that. And you can feel it, I can sense it here. As to say, the difference in this room. And as I say, we're not all with the understanding that, but anyone that's in here opens up a little bit, it must penetrate. It must go in. Breathe it in and breathe out the concepts, the ideas, the fears and the anxiety. Let them go. Every day is a fresh beginning. Every morn is the world made new. You who are weary of sorrow and sin, here's a beautiful hope for you. All the past things are passing over. The deeds are done, the tears are shed. Yesterday's errors, let yesterday cover. Yesterday's wounds, which smarted and bled, are healed with the healing that night has shed. Let them go, because we cannot undo them, cannot forgive, cannot atone. God in his mercy, receive them, take them. Only the new day is ours to own. Today is here, and today is loan.
Whose poem is that?
And that is so. That's how it is. This is the reality. And it's always and ever fresh, ever new, ever real.
Do you remember who wrote that poem?
I'll tell you at the moment to see it. You'll see it on the.
Yeah, I gotta Google it.
It's on the web. But a lot of these things, you recognise the truth in them. I am that is the great mantra, which we all know. What is that? And you realise that everything is that. That's how you know it. Because you say, that's the chair I'm sitting in. That's the space in the room. That's the carpet. That's the tree. That's the flower. That's the stars. That's the planet. It's all that, which we've learnt words, language, and put different labels on it and discriminate it and break it up into the word. And those words seemingly separate. And separation is division, problems, trouble. Recognise that it's only and ever the one, and you are that. And you know that because you say, I am that, and then you put the label, I am Bill or Jean, or whatever name you've got, and take the label of the word Bill or Jean to be real and function as that person. But I am that reality. I am that living, breathing, loving, joyous sense of well-being. Know it for certain. Absolute. What can you add to the absolute? Nothing whatsoever. Or the great perfection. You can't add anything to the absolute or the perfect. It wouldn't be absolute or perfect. What can you take away from it? Nothing. If you took anything away from it, it wouldn't be perfect. So absolute is totality. And if you know that and recognise you are the absolute, who can ever be superior to you? We think these ones are superior, or this one knows more, or this one's better, or that one's not so good. Who can ever be inferior to you? So those things disappear. No one inferior to you, no one superior to you. And what would you want from anybody else? We think he's got this or that, or I want it or I don't want it. And we fight and go to war and do all these things because of that sense of separation. Somebody's got something we haven't got. It is not necessary. And it doesn't have to be that way. Our mind's thinking has become pretty jaundiced with all the words we've learned and ideas and concepts, sensations and feelings and emotions, which the label we put on them, given their seeming reality. But if it's pure sensation, can you call it fear or happiness or joyousness if you're not trying to describe the indescribable? It's just as it is. What is means it's unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. Just pure being. And being can never be becoming. We try to become something. I'm not good enough now, but I'll get it tomorrow or the next day. That's becoming. But again, where does that idea of becoming? It's time. We've got the concept of time. We all go by this time. Have you ever looked into time and recognised it's just a mental concept also? Is there a past if I don't think about it? Well, without a thought, I can't say there's a past or a future. And if there's a past, try and live yesterday. Try and live last week or last year. If it was a past and you had good times in the past, you'd go back to them and relive them. But we got this past, this conceptual image, we go back in that and regurgitate it and live in the past. But you can't live yesterday. Have a look at it. You might recall some of it. It's only what you're recalling and putting the energy of belief into that's got any power. If you're seeing it for what it is, it's just as it is. And all this manifestation is transient. It's constantly changing. Every one of us and everything in this room is transient. It's changing right now. Nothing static with it whatsoever. And this body, you mightn't believe it, there's thousands of cells dying in it right at this moment. What are you doing? But you're not even noticing it. Dying in this moment. And being replaced. And the innate intelligence, the life that is living, being and expressing in you, is doing it. Because a skin cell is not going to replace a brain cell. A brain cell is not going to replace a heart cell when these cells break down. Each cell is suffused with that intelligence energy, suffused with the life that you are. There's only life, as Nisargadatta says. There's no room for death or anything else. And he tells us that life lives on life. And out of life, more life comes. Well, have a look at that. Where did you come from? When you look back in it, you came from the life of your father and your mother. That animating life essence was your patterns and formed your father. Enabled in that pattern a little microscopic particle called a sperm to form. You can't see it with your naked eye. But that sperm was suffused with intelligence, energy. It knew what to do. And the same in your mother. That animating life essence in your mother enabled in that pattern another microscopic particle called an egg or an ovum to form. That egg was suffused with intelligence. It knew what to do. It attached itself to the wall of the uterus. And the sperm, knowing what to do, it swam to the ovum. They weren't just two blobs of goo willy-nilly. They were suffused with that life, intelligence. And that cell, those two came together, and the genes and the food and what was going on in that body. That cell doubled and redoubled and formed a little embryo, a little fetus, which is what you are today. What were you doing about it then? As the so-called personality, you couldn't do anything. You had no words. How could you? But life knew what to do, and it's still knowing what to do. It's still breathing you, beating hard. Come more recognise and content that you are the life, and come with that instead of the conceptualising and working it out in the mind with different concepts, ideas, which are constantly changing. As Christ told you, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. Wasn't talking about himself. People thought he was talking about himself and put it on him. He was talking about that sense of presence, the knowing that you are. Each and every one of you knows I am. Isn't that true? And that when he's saying I am the life, he's talking about that sense of presence, not the person. Not I am the body or I the mind. Hey, good to see you. And as Nisargadatta tells us, there's only life. This room is full of life. There is nobody who lives alive. He says life lives on life. And as I say, you came from the life of your parents, and the food you're eating was life, the vegetables, the animals and all of it. And out of life, more life comes. It's ever freshly reproducing itself as life. He says, there's nobody who ever lives alive. And he says, nothing can trouble you except in your own imagination. It's a big one. But have a look at it. Break that word imagination down to imagine. And see what we're doing. We're creating these mental or conceptual images. Got an image of what I believe myself to be, an image about this, an image about that, and taking the image to be real. He says, you're dreaming a dream you call the world. Stop looking for ways out. We're trying to get out of this dream and think we're going to change it, alter it, whatever. He says, the dream's not your concern. Your concern is you love one part of the dream and not the other. And that's the problem. We go into this belief in me and think we can fix it or change it. And we get into all sorts of problems. He says, love all of it or none of it. Don't divide it or separate, because when you look into it, it's one without a second. There's nothing divided and nothing separate. And you look into how it functions, as Shakespeare told you, there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. It's the thinking that's seemingly divided. This is good, that's bad. This is pleasant, painful. This is happy, this is sad. All thoughts. And thoughts are nothing but words we've picked up. Have a look at the word. Is the word the real? Well, try and drink the word water. Try and swim in the word water. Try and cook with the word fire. When you look at the word, so what's this word I or me when you look into it? We take it to believe we are this person, this body, mind. But when you look into it, maybe it's not so. What's this word person? Where does that come from? The ancient Latin persona, the mask. We've got a conceptual image, this mask. I'm Bob so-and-so and so. It's all a mask of concepts, which obscured the reality, the absoluteness, and blocked the joyousness and the wonderment and the love that expresses, if allowed to. A sense of being well-being. nothing wrong. And the being is still that being, it is not becoming. Becoming never happens, because becoming implies a future time. But there's no past unless you think about it. And there's no future unless you think about it. And when you think, when is thinking happening? Isn't thinking happening right now, if there's any thinking? If you pause the thought and ask yourself, what's wrong with right now if I don't think about it? In that pause, what can you say? With the thought pause, you realise you can't say anything, can't do anything. But if you stop breathing, has your heart stopped beating? Have you stopped living? You haven't. Life is still going on. So that points out that you are prior to the thought. And you didn't have any thoughts until you were a couple of years old. So you lived a couple of years without the Word. It tells you in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, the Word was God. That's all this God is a Word. All things were made by Him, by the Word. Isn't it so? We've got words, labels on everything. There was nothing made that was made without the Word. And we've taken the Word to be real, and it's not. But the very essence, pattern, shape and form, in which that intelligence energy which forms these words is the very life and being. It's one being, and only that. That is all there is. As Ram Dass told you, be what you are, not what you believe yourself to be. I believe this and I believe that. Have a look at the word belief. Look it up in the dictionary, and you'll see that belief is an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. It means we haven't reasoned out, we haven't looked into it, we've taken it for granted. When people told you, you are Billy, you are Jean, or you're so-and-so, your parents told you, took it immediately, oh, I am Bob, or I am this, whatever the name is. Never questioned it until later on, when it brought me into the gutter, into my knees with the hopelessness, turned me around and started to look in these things and see, as they say, the false cannot stand up to investigation. Have a look at it and see. And when you look into the false and see the false is false, you are free. And that's what they say, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. False can't stand up to investigation at all. And if you recognise it and see that, you are free of the belief. And if you're not believing something, what must it be? It must be what is. What is part of the verb to be. It is this. It is that. It is everything. And is not wasing. It's not what will be. It is the actuality that's within each and every one of us right now. Be what you are. And that's what he says. Love all of it or none of it. And if you love all of it or none of it, and the rest will be done for you, that pure life essence or intelligence energy, you know what to do. You know when to take the next breath, you know it's beating your heart, you know when you're hungry, you know when the thoughts are coming up. The knowing, the being, knowing and loving is there constantly, which the words distort and obscure it. We're obscured with concepts. As I've said, it's absolute, it's perfect. And the Buddhists give it in one sentence when they say the great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. The awareness of being without putting these words or concepts on it. Test it out. They're not saying these things for nothing. Look in them, you recognise them. They resonate with you. And that resonation, it's not a matter of becoming, because becoming implies a future time. But there's never a time, if you look into it, when you haven't been being. You are being right now, not wasing or not will be, but pure being. And that being is knowing. That knowing is loving to be, intelligence, energy. So you've all had taste of it, you all know it. And you're all expressing it whether you know it or not. So get into it and tell me about it.
Yes, so welcome again. And we have a couple of comments. We have about 36 people with us right now who are online, and a lot of good morning messages, happy anniversary messages. Yesterday, no, it was a couple of days ago, Bob had an anniversary of his sobriety, which is pretty amazing achievement done by life, because he was not a doer of it. They say it is a miracle by which everything really happens in life, and things like putting down your last drink, when you depend on them for self-medicating your anxiety, your stress, your misery, your depression, is a miracle. Like, if you consider that a medicine that kind of helps you survive, why would you ever want to put it down? You wouldn't want to, but life orchestrated it this way, and that miracle happened 63 years ago over. And it still goes on. And the amazing thing about it, I heard from someone who we used to know once, that gives extra credibility to that life story unfolding from extreme sense of bondage and suffering and reliance on that self-concept of no self-esteem, of being no hoper, loser in a gutter, as he mentioned, to the point of living in absolute joy and serenity in late age, regardless of bodily issues, diseases, and troubles arising in every life like they do. So that's pretty impressive. If it could happen in the life, like I think it was also mentioned in the Bible when Jesus was saying that life, or that I am, is equally present in prostitutes as it is in the dignitaries. So it is equally present in those who are suffering from debilitating diseases and addictions, as it is in anyone. The potentiality of freedom or liberation is there, is actually already present, is just being overlooked. But that was about the congratulations. A little sidetrack. Now Gilbert says, no cloud is stuck to the sky. No thought, feeling, or emotion is stuck to consciousness. Watch the mind. Be conscious of the consciousness. Absolutely. That's the true entertainment. And Dan Zen says, when I see Bob, I'm seeing somebody. When I hear his message, it is pointing to nobody. In between is the unexplainable expression of loveness. Beautiful. And Terry Hoy says, hi from England. And Gioti says good morning and sending love from Dave. And Bradley has a question. First, acknowledge the 63 years, Bob. It is 30 now since I stopped trying to get the spirit out of a bottle to try to replace the perceived lack of spirit in myself. Oh my goodness, that is a brilliant way to put it, isn't it? Thank you, Bradley. And then it goes on here. Nisargadatta, and there is a quote coming. You do not tidy up a dark room. You open the window first to let the light in. Do you think 12-step has it backwards, Bob? Spending many years working on a concept called my recovery, but never get that room tied up. Once the light comes in, tidying up resolves itself. The concept called sobriety, based in horizontal time, dependent on the past and future. I know Bill Wilson had his spiritual experience by using African nightshade administered by the doctor. Spiritual experiences are only that, a moment in time. The spirit, however, is the natural state. Trying to think the way sober started with the opening of the first commercial rehab in California in 1960, from when the sobriety rates declined below 5% today. Yeah, so do you like to comment on that?
No.
That's his take.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, but yeah, well, I'll say that then. Nobody has any choice in the way life unfolds for them. Nobody has even any choice whether the windows, the curtains will be pulled in and the light comes in, because there are no doers. So as it happens, a lot of people find their way. Life guides them to the 12 steps. And as we mentioned before, for Bob, those 12 steps were the light coming in the window, because the maybe the crack in the armor came in that maybe that self-center and my self-will and self-obsession is not all there is. Maybe there is a power greater than that. So that maybe took him for the search, and it happened through the AA and the book that he was handed over. So that's how the life unfolded, and there is no right or wrong. In one story, that program is a lifesaver and is everything, because no other programs are available. In other situations, it is the deflational, as often Bob was mentioning, program, which deflates the ego. And the final step may or may not be taken to see that the ego, which is being deflated or inflated, is a fiction at the first place.
Perfectly said.
Yeah. Jane, would you like to add something? You've got more of the knowledge.
Well, I think for many years I grappled with marrying non-duality to the 12 steps, and the more I read the book and the more I came to non-dual meetings, the more I realised it's exactly the same. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah, beautiful. And if you actually really realize that it is just one essence, it's just one essence, you will find the same in Christianity, you will find the same in the Muslim tradition.
Truth's truth, no matter where it appears.
And
poetry, the Bible, 12 steps.
Yep.
You know, it's all pointing at living a life of self-will or identification with the self can never be a success. That's what it says in the big book. And in non-duality it says living in the me, which is the self-centre, which can only live in the past or the future, is also like pushing shit uphill. So when you realise who you really are, you see it in everything, as you say, Kat. You see it in everything. You see it in poetry, you see it in the Bible, you see it in the 12 steps, you see it in all the writings that have gone down through the ages. You see it.
Yeah.
It's no longer clouded by a mind trying to figure it out. It's just what is. And it's gloriously apparent.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And as Bob often says, everything, even that magnificent illusion, even a mirage, is true in its essence, because it's made of that intelligence energy, that one. So its essence is true. The way it appears, of course, it is very, very colorful, intense and attractive and beautiful mirage. And every single thing that is becoming a thing, the form coming out from the emptiness or the potentiality is clean, and the form is already set. So it is kind of seemingly moving away from its nothingness, but in essence it is the nothingness. It can never be anything else.
Jane couldn't talk like that years ago.
Yeah.
And the truth ate away the lie, thank goodness. Yeah. And it was a combination of, you know, different parts of the journey. You know, as Bob said, you know, everything's an opportunity to watch, and more will be revealed. And, you know, it's just a matter of being open and earnest.
Yeah, beautiful.
Hi, my name's Peter. I'm an alcoholic, deathaholic, whatever you want to call it. No, and I heard you say love quite a few times this morning, Bob. I heard you say love quite a few times, and that word's a crucial word in this whole thing, isn't it? Even though you're the epitome of it. Thank you, as is everyone here. God, and in that, in the moment of just total acceptance of what we have before us, that's what love is, isn't it? Yeah. Without exception, it just effortlessly appears. In really just taking a moment to look carefully, to listen carefully, to feel what's happening in whatever way, shape or form it shows up. And thank you. I love you.
Yeah. All they say that God is love, but we don't turn around and go, if God is love, love must be God. We don't look at that part. Then loving somebody and that love is going out, that's the godliness in you.
Yes.
Go on, what's next?
Heyman.
Thank you. Inside the room that I live in, which is a little bit larger than a ping pong table, I'm disconnected with my biological family. I'm disconnected with my beautiful family in here as well for a short time. And I realized in this room that I'm sitting on the chair in front of white wall, that a lot of people could have committed suicide in the situation that I'm living. And not only that I'm living, I'm also living uphill. I mean, the time passes, the happiness, the satisfaction going uphill. There's something that I take it personally. I don't know why. I don't need to know why. That some people claim, which is my personal opinion, it's unproductive, inappropriate, false, wrong, misleading, shallow, and negative. That's well, I don't think meditation hasn't got anything to do with recognition of our true nature, as well as it's inconsistent with my experiencing. I don't have any problem with anyone, as much as I can, but what I can is, according to science, is 8 or 10%. The other 90% currently is still functioning as a piece of belief, entity. But the most beautiful part of my life was a decision that I make to come here and join this beautiful family. And this beautiful decision will remain beautiful for the rest of my life as a body. Thank you. And may God continue bless itself. But I don't have problem with anyone. I'm innocently, honestly speaking. If you take it personal, go inquire to that which takes it personal. And you already know better than me. You're deeper into this. Please forgive me. And 100% of what I said is purely nonsense and not worthy whatever about. Remember about, attention about, talk about, think about. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Oh, no. Thank you.
Thanks, Raymond.
Thank you.
It's the same here many years I was locked into this thing. But when I started looking, it took me where I needed to go. And it didn't happen overnight. It was the same with you. You're changing. I see changes in you. Keep it up.
I have no other choice. There is no alternative, and that's there's no way back. It takes you further, but I'm just doing what I'm doing.
Couldn't do anything else.
Fortunately, because some people do, which is probably, not possibly, probably a wrong thing to do.
Nothing either right or wrong, but thinking makes it so.
Yes, in terms of damaging their physical body. That's what I meant by saying that. Believe me, I love you.
Love you.
Love you. Thanks, Simon.
Let's see. Make sure it's tight, really tight. Oh, love it. Thank you. All the way to the back.
So I wanted to ask, you said before, you either love the whole dream or you don't like any of it, and not just to love parts and dislike other parts. Louder?
Yeah, sorry.
Let me hold the microphone further. So you said earlier that you either love the whole dream or you don't love none of it. There's no loving some of it and disliking some of it. So what happens if you don't love any of it? What happens if it... Yeah.
Well, it'll take you where you got to go. Whether you love it or not, you're still breathing, your heart's still beating. What's doing that? The life or the love itself is expressing through that pattern. You mightn't put those labels on it. But if you weren't, you can't say you are not right now. You are that pure being.
I think what was also important with that quote, because that was Nisargadatta saying, the context of it, he says, dream is not your problem. Your problem is that you have preferences. This you like, you want to keep, you want more of it, the pleasure, and this you don't like. So there is a reference point, me, who wants this and doesn't want that. So when he says love all of it or none of it, what he actually says is just treat everything equally. Don't have preferences. And it doesn't mean that there is a doer who has the choice to, love pain as much as pleasure. That's impossible. The body will always have preference for survival and for pleasure and will be repelled from pain. But what you are is beyond that body-mind which has these afflictions and attractions. So he says, move beyond that part of the dream in which there are desires, attractions and aversions, and find that you are the pure emptiness, a pure cognizing consciousness in which those afflictions happens. But this is a really good question that you posed. What if you hate everything and resist everything?
Because there's a loss of meaning at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what? Like, why?
Yeah. Yeah, if there is tons of resistance towards everything, that's the pinnacle of suffering. And that also happens through, that's how life very often escalates the illusion. And in that point of escalation, the flipping over often happens. That was Bob's case, that was my case, that was a lot of cases in which people actually, the resistance and the self-hatred, the rejection, the fear, the anxiety, all that stuff escalated to the point of impossibility. Like you kind of almost on the edge of a cliff, weighing whether it is worthy to even be here or not. That resistance is so heavy. that is often a point when it opens up, when you have nothing else to lose. Okay, I can kill myself right now, but yeah, all right, I'm fearless now. Yeah. So dark night of the soul. Yeah, that's what not what Nisargadatta was suggesting. Hate everything, because obviously you're not the doer. If that happens, it happens because of the 10,000 things of the whole universe, the whole world lining up. Like obviously you didn't choose your parents or traumas, childhood traumas, problems, financial health, none of that. But sometimes life just kind of almost closes up on you, like it closed up on Bob the 63 years ago, when the suffering was just unbearable anymore. He had a gun in his mouth. It was, so in that particular quote, it is about finding the place in which all that turmoil, like it may be just flying over the battlefield, and the body is the battlefield, the body-mind is the battlefield, that turmoil is in there, and it all happens within that awareness that you are.
Thank you.
And if you are here, or anyone is at that point, just be as present as you can with that, because this is very often that very last time you look at it, and fingers crossed it is, because God, it's pretty tough.
This too will change. Remember that, I reckon. And that everything will always vibrate in the dualistic nature. So the good is always going to be followed by a bit of bad, perhaps, to balance it out. Yeah. But you are the master, aren't you? You're the one who is the Taoist master. Yes, you are. Travelling in balance. Yeah.
That's the key to it, Peter. Change. Transient. Everything's transient. It's constantly changing. I didn't think it was be any change, but it crept up on me.
And change is not the truth. The truth is that which never changes.
And part of the truth of that is that there's an awareness through both the loving and the rejection. There is a continuity that observes that, and that's something that is there, no matter that observes and knows the suffering and knows the great love, but isn't the love or the suffering. There's something other. Yeah.
And if there wasn't love, if there wasn't a loving to be, resistance wouldn't be there. Because any resistance, if there is humiliation, if there is rejection, if there is fear, that fear is basically communicating that this is wrong. I love and care for that form made of emptiness, for that. And I resist that self-hatred. I don't want it there, because deep down in my heart, I know I'm love. And all that suffering there, it doesn't fit. It's not right. Any resistance, well, because as Bob says, if God is love, love is God. Love is all there is. Love is behind every action. Love is behind a suicide also, because it ends the suffering. Love is behind great resistance to any humiliation or any pain, because it says that I don't want it. This is wrong. Why don't I want it? Why is this wrong? Because the desire, the longing for love is there. The want for love, the crave for love. And it can only be found right where there is a craving. I remember being in that stage of really crying most of the time out of that longing. Just knowing that it is there and being seemingly unable to find it, because I imagined myself separate from that source, from that love, and dreaming, asking, begging, praying for it. and realizing that in the act of asking, knowing, craving and longing for it, is the knowing of it. I couldn't have possibly longed for it if I didn't know it deeply in my heart. And those were the moments of bliss or insight, where from, and there was many of them along the way, long time ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, where those moments of longing were the moments of realization that what I'm longing for is here. But they were experiences. So experiences, as much as they can be a temporary relief from suffering, and the moment of insight, they're not really something to rely on. There's nothing sustainable. And of course the idea of enlightenment being the moment of longing and the moment of actually dissolving into that bliss of knowing was something that was like the contrast of suffering and the liberation was ecstatic. So those were experiences of ecstasy. And the concept of enlightenment or liberation was the concept of constant ecstasy. So, of course, spiritual search was for the bliss and ecstasy. But the bliss and ecstasy is only possible in the contrast of its opposite. So it's really bullshit to chase a momentary experiences. It's bullshit to chase the pleasure, because you need the pain to know it. There is no darkness without light. There is no pleasure without pain. So as much as they serve the role back in my lifelong search, they do not matter. Whether they're there or not, it doesn't make any difference. It is not something worthy of hanging on to. It's not something worthy of dreaming for or looking for. Because the peace that passeth all understanding is underneath the experiences of pleasure and pain, and bliss and ecstasy and suffering. And it's there when that turmoil is realized to be a content of the consciousness. As personal as it feels, it isn't personal.
Well said.
Yeah, it's and my heart goes out to anyone who is going through what I've been through, or I don't know if that's the same or not, but yeah, it's temporary. As Peter said, it is like the only constant is change. In the world of experiencing, there's nothing static.
Makes me think of that poem my mum loved, The Hound of Heaven. I fled him down the nights and down the days. I fled him down the arches of the years. I fled him down the labyrinthine ways of my own mind, and in the midst of tears I hid from him.
Wow, beautiful.
Francis Thompson, The Hound of Heaven. Yeah, could put it to music, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah. Please.
No shit.
Some shit talking. How we doing, everyone? I just wanted to talk about meaning and no meaning, and I guess you hear that you're told to treat everything, love everything or nothing at all, and if you don't love anything, then there's no meaning, but that's the sort of last concept that you get to. And then you let go of that meaning, and then poof, you're beyond meaning or no meaning. And that's one of the most amazing things about this whole thing, is that it's beyond any limiting concept that anyone will ever give you, no matter how amazing the definition is. It's still going to be beyond that as well. And I guess if you find yourself at the point where you're defining, or you have this concept that it's meaningless, it's even better than that. It's not even that. So yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Nothing to do, nothing to be, nowhere to go, nothing to see.
Yeah, we had one of those cards. We have that quote. I think it's brilliant. And we have a couple of people commenting here online. So Wilma says, oh no, we read that one before. Bradley, at first the man takes a drink, then that drink takes another drink, and then the drink takes the man.
That's right.
Lovely.
So,
The man learns to think, that thinking has another thought, then the thinking takes the man. Brilliant. Well, yes, well said. And then Gilbert comments to that, no one doing anything, no blame, no merit. And Gilbert says, so long as the belief in me is not investigated, there will be a psychological suffering. Who cares? Stories of me and my story are unnecessary. Put them aside. And Bradley says, when I say yes to what is seen as natural change on the screen called love. Beautiful. And Gilbert, consciousness is perfect. Who can truly find fault with the consciousness? Exactly. And American Julia, nowhere to go and nothing to do, to be what you already are. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna find that card because there was a sequel to it, to that beautiful sentence. And if anyone ever get lost, you have the set of pointers, reminders, the real pearls of Bob's wisdom. And if there is anything you struggle with, you just pick one, and every single one takes you home. And if it doesn't, bring it here and tell us about it. We will elaborate. But yes, it does. I think it was the first one that I've done. And this one, the beautiful sky and sea. And it says, nothing to do, no one to be, nowhere to go, nothing to see. You are already that, the emptiness itself, the no-thingness. That's the beautiful pearl of wisdom. And look at the clouds. I mean, we all have like Facebook facial recognition pattern, but don't we have heart recognition pattern as well? So that's that. The space, does it go anywhere? Does it do anything? Does it need to become anything? And space-like awareness or sky-like awareness is the natural state, is the true essence. The emptiness that is cognizing, that is knowing, that is intelligent, that is the intelligence itself. And it isn't a thing to say it is intelligent or it is knowing. That's already too much said. That's the duality. There's not even an it. Because if there was it, there was something other than it. So it is all there is the capacity for knowing, capacity for being, realized in the form, but present without it as a potentiality as well.
So that's the knowingness and the isness.
Yes.
Yeah, knowingness and isness only.
Only.
Without identity.
Without the opposite. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you.
As a fool, when it's hot, I want it cool, and when it's cool, I want it hot. Never I want what I've got, and always wanting what is not. That's the level that I am. I understand it properly as a fool. But then the F-O-O-L, fool, turns to F-U-L-L, fool, full of emptiness.
Beautiful.
And in the future. And also Bob has got the highest capability of heart recognition. You were talking about the facial recognition of Facebook. Thank you.
No more comments. Anyone would like to contribute, say something, ask something, share something. Okay, well, I'll just pick another one then.
Well, I'll say
I'll
something
let
if you
Bob
like.
to pick one. You want to pick one? Oh, you want to say something?
Not really, but
But
no,
go
no,
on,
do the
but go
do the tarot instead.
Oh, no, we're going to have you first.
Oh, that's okay.
Come on.
I forgot. I was about the dream. You know, we were talking about seeing it. I think, like, quite simply, like sort of saying, see the dream as a dream.
Yes.
Not forget about distinguishing liking and loving and not like. Ultimately, see the dream as a dream.
Yeah.
And then the dream is a love story in itself. That is the love, like, and what does that mean? Like, it's just really like consciousness being conscious of itself, or awareness being aware of itself. It's very simple, and there's no one that can do that. There's no one that's possibly can get that, because that fictitious entity is part of the dream.
Yes.
And
That's
so
right.
it's just very, really simple. So all the struggles and trials and tribulations and all that, it just ends up in this simple, like the search it doesn't work. Like it can't, the me can't get anything because there isn't one, and it's just that. And yeah, see the dream as a dream. And that's it. And it becomes like this whimsical little play of just stuff, and then there's no fear of death, like at all. Like there's no anything like that. It's just this constant change thing that goes on in this appearance, and you're not that, or that there's a body sensations included as the totality. That's it. That's all.
Yeah. The beauty of that is when you see the dream as a dream, he says you've done all you can. The dream is not your concern. Your concern is love. But when you see the dream as dream, you've done all you can. And the rest will be done for you.
Yeah.
That's the beauty.
Yeah.
Out of your hands.
Yeah.
For the same life that brought you into the dream, take out of it.
Yeah.
I love that story you used to tell about the flame in the coil of string, was it? You know how the little spark started burning in the big coil
And
of
a bale of hay.
bale of
Oh,
hay,
yes.
bale of hay.
Cotton. Yeah.
Cotton.
Oh,
Bale of
cotton,
cotton.
bale of cotton.
In the ships, you know, to get a heat or spark in them, and they smoulder away. You couldn't put it out. Keep smouldering till it burned up.
Well, that's
Sink
right.
the ship, yeah.
And that's what happens to us. Because, you know, the mind tries to figure it out, you know, even though you're told that you're not that, and even though you know that you're not the me, and the mind's nature is to figure everything out. And then all of a sudden, one day you realise it's stopped.
Yeah.
And you take a big sigh of relief, and you realise that you did nothing. You never did a thing. It's just burnt away the lie, that little spark, you know. And the reactions you have to things, they're just a distant sort of flicker, you know. They're just not there anymore, you know. And you didn't do anything.
No.
How could I?
But there isn't one.
Anyone else like to? Yeah.
Michael.
My name's Michael, and I'm a thinkaholic.
Welcome, Michael.
You're in good company here.
Yeah, I think for me the spark is there. It's in the cotton. It's burning. But I mean, and still this morning I woke up and there's like, and I pay no attention to it, but it's there, and it's like relentless. And I know that Paul Hederman talks about, in terms of addiction and alcohol, he talks about how what really got him was he had all these problems, his life was shit, you know, everyone was against him, the whole world was against him, and then he went to AA and he found that everyone was having the same thoughts, and he's going, hang on, you know, how can this be me if everyone's having the same experience? And I kind of recognised that in a way you thank that thought, because my life's pretty comfortable, it's great. And if it wasn't for that, what would I be doing? I'd just be comfortable, I wouldn't be looking. But even when I look,
it's all love, as Kat says.
yeah, but even when I look, when it comes, it's relentless, it's painful, it's ridiculous, that makes no sense. And there's no one defined, like if you look at who's having it, there's no one defined they're having it. It's like burning. But I look forward to the time when it's completely burnt.
Who is looking forward to it?
Yeah, who's looking forward to it? I don't know.
It'll only be now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yes, yes.
No. Oh, there's that. Was it one of the teachers, modern day teachers? She gets you to challenge those thoughts. She says, "Now, is that really true?" I think that's a really.
Nothing that believes they're true.
Yeah, but that actually often just stops it like that.
Byron Katie.
Yeah, Byron Katie. Yeah.
And Bob's version of Byron Katie's inquiry is, what's wrong with right now if you don't think about it?
Exactly.
It's a shortcut.
And also, who's it happening to?
Yeah.
You know, that's another beauty. Because, you know, where is that who? I defy you to find it. It just ain't there.
Cardboard cutout. The image you fashioned all by yourself.
Yeah, and the world fashioned for you. Or the alleged world.
Card? Okay. Ah, scheiße. It's falling out. Okay, got it. You pick one. Any? Okay, you read it? I'll do it.
Yeah.
As the sun forms the clouds, the life essence forms thoughts and knows nothing about it. Thoughts do not know space. They are not attached anywhere. They move on. And we have the clouds as thoughts here on the beautiful sunset that was taken in Brazil. When I was turning the ship around, you can even see the killwater. And I was actually risking the cruise of a life because the sunset was so stunning. And it had to be hand maneuvered, and it was like 120,000 tons tanker, 250 meters long. I was running in the back, and oh my goodness, that sunset. Taking a picture, running in the front, seeing the rate of turn. So that was a really nice adventure of the sailor's adventure. And there is the other part of that sunset here. It's a little bit matte, so you don't have reflective surface, you can read it clearly. And yes, sun forms the clouds. That radiance of life forms the thoughts. The thoughts are the same in essence. What everything else is, they're not the enemy. They are the life essence.
That's like an amazing pointer, like really. So here are the thoughts saying, I've got to fix this, I've got to find this, I've got to search, I've got to look, I've got to discover, I've got to be better, whatever it is. But the moment you see that it's the same energy that's actually formula. There's no thinker.
Yeah.
They're just the appearances, and it's just, how can you possibly continue on that, in that same vein of like investigate, like trying to work something out in the mind, because it once it seems like you're really working something out. You're calculating something. You're deducting. You're analysing. There's no analyst. There's no deductor. There's just these little appearances of these thoughts, and there's no one doing them. And it's like, wow, how could you believe a thought? So therefore, the stream of thoughts may continue, but there's no belief So it's like seeing that the energy that's creating the appearance of that thought is the same energy that's creating the whole universe, and it all appears in the sense of I amness, which bursts into life with that, and that's it. Yeah, that's all. So that card just
it's beautiful,
it's beautiful,
isn't it?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, they're all beautiful. Those pearls of wisdom and the depth of that wisdom. You could actually look into it. You can contemplate it, or you can just simply relax or resonate with it. But really, the consequence of every little sentence put there, like really diamonds of Bob saying in a really short thing. See how it opens up. Yes, you can never look at thought in any other way. So the content of thought is completely secondary. Whether the thought says I'm wonderful or the thought says I'm worthless piece of shit, what does it matter? That thought is a miracle in itself. It's an existence. It's an emptiness dancing into a form. And it's amazing that it even shows up, that it even appears on that vastness of screen. So whether the cloud is dark or the cloud is light, whether the cloud is full of rain or is just a dispersing little cirrus cloud, what does it really matter? The existence of the cloud is a miracle itself. So listening to the content of thoughts becomes secondary, because the thought itself, the cloud itself, is a proof of that infinite power behind it. It's an expression of that godliness or loveliness. So you can't believe thought any longer. If they come, they're laughable. And it happens by itself, because I do remember believing thoughts of being worthless, and it really does. The way how laughable they are today is a different paradigm.
It's funny how they still come up, and you know, you just go, oh, there we go, you know, oh God, you know. And then you just go, oh, shut the fuck up, please. Please. You know? You know, it's like Peter was saying, it's all about change. And, you know, all of a sudden the mind comes in, but. You know? And then you just go, oh, shut the fuck up, please.
Are you a thought?
No.
Have a look and see. You realise thoughts are objects.
That's right.
You're aware of thoughts, so they're not you.
Yeah.
If you're not aware of the objects, you're left with the subject. Thoughts lose their sting.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, because that really helps, because I think the problem is I don't have a belief in those thoughts that are coming. I just expect them not to be there. So it's letting go of the expectation of them to not be there. I don't believe them when they come anyway.
But that's another thought.
Yeah.
Don't believe it. That expectations for the thoughts not to be there is another thought. Don't believe it. Yeah.
Because it's perfectly okay for it to be there.
Absolutely.
Exactly as it is.
Yeah. Any doubting thought is also just another thought. Disbelieve it.
You know, when it doesn't refer to anybody, then every thought becomes whole. Then it's real. One is only in existence because you take one pole of the dualistic dilemma. You know, that's all. So when we see everything as whole, both sides of the thing together, and you know, it disappears in unborn Buddha mind, doesn't it? Unborn.
Yeah, that's right.
And then everything is beautiful rather than it can have any possibility of affecting a self whatsoever.
Yeah. Did you want to say something?
I will.
Yeah. Bob will say something.
I'm not going to be addressing what you're
Go
talking
on.
about, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just had this random story.
No,
No, go.
let it go.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I thought your memory is a bit shorter. It's better if you say when you remember.
So I had this random story come to me. I thought I'd share it because it's funny. So last weekend I was at a birthday party, and it was in New Zealand. We were at a hut, and we were sort of located in this beautiful spot looking out at the beach, and you know, the waves coming in, and we're all sitting there sort of my friends. You know, there's lots of people, 20 odd people, and we're all drinking, and we're all sitting and just talking by the beach, and all the conversation is about basically where we could do the same thing somewhere else. So we were just talking about how, man, at New Year's we're going to be in, we're going to be up north at this other beach, and gosh, I can't wait to get there, and man, we're going to be doing the exact same thing somewhere else. And it was kind of funny because it's like we're talking about something that's already happening, you know. And then I thought about what we do in here. You know, we're all talking about non-duality, but it's already happening as well. Mm-hmm. So I just thought, you know, it's funny that we're talking about something that's already happening.
Yes.
You know.
What did you want to say, Bob?
Forgotten.
Gosh, you see, you buggers.
Like
a bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah, just another pointer for your next pack of cards. What Mum always says is, I'll park that in the back seat. I'm not going to think about that one. She just parks it in the back seat.
And my stepmother, you know, when someone's, she's 87, she's got her own wisdom in her own way, and there'll be some talk about someone getting upset about something, and she'll go, just let it go through to the keeper. I like that one. Let it go through to the keeper.
Or get your hand off it, Darryl.
Yeah, I love that. The castle wisdom. Yeah, get your hand off it, Darryl.
Right.
So gorgeous, that movie, though.
I have a nice comment here from Bradley. Thoughts are just birds in the sky of your mind. Just don't let them make a nest in your hair. Brilliant. And Bill, a beautiful feeling in the meeting space today, emanating in the empty silence. Not that it is not always present. I'm seeing and feeling it more clearly today.
Good.
And it's a sweet love holding everything and everyone, drawing us into ourselves, our one simple wholeness. Beautiful. And Gilbert, no belief is ever something true. Who says I don't believe? Yeah.
It seems to me, though, that thoughts are quite easy to see. You know, because just the very fact that they're objective, you know, they're out there. So the space you're already in, you can see. You know, they're just a word we've picked up. So you can let them go quite easily if you just observe them and see them as images, because the brain adapts to images as well. But I find with sometimes the feelings, say you let go of the thoughts because that's ridiculous.
Yes.
And as Bob says all the time, just see them. But then a residue of feeling can come, and it can sort of almost, and we know it's vibrations and energy, and we only give it a label. We recognise that. However, that shadow of an energy, it almost can get stuck. So as much as your thoughts have gone, and you observe your feeling, and you can work out intellectually, I'll let this go because it's only a vibration of energy moving. However, life itself can hold on to it for a while until it's ready to let it go. And I find that's where, from my own experience and also the experience of others when they talk about it, that seems to create a problem emotionally for people where they can't just be as clear in their awareness, because I call it a shadow. I just say there's a shadow there. Or my granddaughter was saying the other day, I can see very clearly there's no one there doing the thinking, there's no one there doing the feeling, because my body's only energy and vibration. However, I can feel that is like a weighing down. I'm not light in my energy. You know what I'm saying, Bob?
Yeah. Yes, you know the shadow. There's something behind the shadow, or the shadow wouldn't have been.
So we still see the shadow.
And who's not liking it? because life doesn't mind.
Sorry.
Yes?
So go ahead.
Go.
No, I was just going to say it does seem sometimes it comes up not to include certain things as it.
Sorry?
Sometimes it comes up not to include certain experiences, feelings, thoughts as it too. And then there's a remembering to include all of it as it. And then if that heaviness or weight hangs around, it can be nothing but it anyway. But I understand the habit of, because it's here too sometimes, the habit not to include, like that bit is separate, you know, which of course can be seen through as well. But it's interesting it comes up, yeah.
Well, not even separate, it's all part of.
Yeah.
You have a thought, you get a feeling, and then you move into an emotion, you know, and that's all, it's all there. It's part of consciousness, even consciousness being on it, you know, so I can see it's the play of consciousness, so to speak. However, as you said before, Bob, you know, well, who's behind it?
Yeah.
But irregardless, it's still there. So even when you think, when you experience, I'll let go of this resistance of this. Because I'm resisting it, that's why it's getting stuck. You know what I mean? When we resist, it persists.
Yeah.
So then to let go of that feeling, that's the one that always then can make it feel like it's personal. And yet you know there's no person there. But it can still entangle you back into feeling personal.
Yeah.
So from my own experience and everybody else I talk to, or my granddaughter, whoever, who is practicing, that seems to be so-called, I'll use a word, obstacle, yet it's just a label, but it's creating that experience, you know?
And thought, there's a sensation, and sensation is a feeling. But when you say, I feel,
You're gone.
Yeah.
pure feeling.
And also, what was coming up for me was it's a story. It's a story about the sensation and the feeling, and the heaviness and the.
They're the labels.
Yes, I know they're the labels, but there's an apparent heaviness. There's an apparent. Yeah, it is all that, as you said. It is all inclusive, but.
Just now, or
It can be just a little bit of a tricky little hook.
Oh yeah.
That when we create a story around something, it apparently makes it linger.
Yes.
But apparently, that's what it is. Apparent. It isn't actually happening.
Well, there is an activity happening in the vibration of the body.
Yeah, in the vibration of the body.
There's a vibration happening, but without labelling. If I was to label it, I would give it a story, correct? But without the story, then you still got that vibration. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes,
but there's a thought. Yeah. There's a, as Bob said, thought, feeling, and emotion are one. Really think
Bob
about
wants
that.
to say something.
Bob wants to say something.
In the ancient days, all stories were fairy tales. Begin with once upon a time. Get out of the story.
Also, there is a subtle, very, very subtle distinction about letting go. It seems like a wonderful pointer, but it may actually be interpreted by the mind as, this is something I don't want. So I let it go, I push it out. That's resistance. That's what you were saying. Yeah. So, letting go is really kind of disengaging. Letting go is not an action. Letting go is the non-action. Holding on to is an action, and letting go is just stop.
Letting be.
It happens, yes,
Yeah,
letting be, exactly. It happens by itself that the feeling, thought, emotion, story, they drop once the holding on stops. So there is no like pushing it or resisting it. Instead, if something appears on the screen of awareness, let's say it is a feeling, let's say it is something that you would label as sadness, or something that you would, without the label, sadness would probably be translated as a little bit of a sense of a heaviness in the solar plexus, and a sense a little bit of a contraction in the shoulders, and maybe slightly shallower breathing, and maybe even a little bit of a affected throat. So this is without calling it sadness, how it manifests in the body. Now, if that thing shows up on the screen of awareness, this is exactly what life or God or love brings into that precious moment, which will never be the same again. Why not embrace it completely? Why not explore it, be curious about it, and just give it all attention that it asks for? And then, because it is some sort of a vacuum there created, is a call for attention. So attention will heal it. And this contraction, when given non-judgmental attention, will just naturally relax. If there is no story following, instead of being let go and the healing happens by that sort of like understanding that this is life itself. That this is the cloud, okay? It's a beautiful, miraculous cloud that is here right now, in this magical moment that will never ever be the same again. This attitude doesn't have that subtle pain, pleasure sort of, I want it, I don't want it, it should be, it shouldn't be. It doesn't. It has just the open field of curiosity and inclusion, like you said, just completely letting it be there.
I keep thinking of that song, the Beatles song. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
Talking about let go.
Talking about let go, yes.
The bloke,
Bob.
this bloke's walking along the top of a cliff, and he trips over, falls down the cliff. On the way down there, there's a little tree growing up, so he grabs it and hangs on it. Screaming out, "Help, help, anybody up there?" The voice answers, "Yes." He said, "What'll I do?" The voice says, "Let go." He looks around and wonders, anybody else up there?
And as it happened, there was an illustration to it, and he was hanging off the cliff, 20 centimeters above the ground.
There's another one out there that
Never give up.
Yeah, never give up.
On the fridge.
The frog's down the bird's mouth. It's got both the front paws around his neck and so it can't swallow it.
Well, that's like the story where the child takes the toy to God and says, "Why didn't you fix my toy?" And he says, "Because you never let it go. You know, you had to let it go before I can fix it." You know, so
beautiful. And we have a couple of comments here. One is from good rambling as usual from Jay, and our Bill says there are no relationships. It is not you and me speaking of relationship, but rather it is this whole, this completeness expressing as you and me, manifesting the possibility and makeup of relationships. It is not seen. If it is not seen, then we jump from dream to dream, each dream having a different set of seemingly satisfying concepts and arrangements. There is just no me, no independent, autonomous body-mind. You gotta laugh. There is nobody home. It is just a prank. We ignore what is really happening. Beautiful, Bill. And Gilbert says, thoughts come and go. The belief that thought has duration is an illusion.
Yeah,
there we go.
No time.
There you go.
Just one more quick thing.
Yeah, just one more thing I just want to bring up, because this brings up in me all of that discussion, is that the only place for pure, unbounded awareness is in the present moment.
Yeah.
And in the present moment, none of that has any strength.
That's right.
That's just the present moment. And that, all of that other stuff disappears like smoke. Yeah. That's the
Thank you.
Thank you. Michael? Yeah.
Just a really quick one. That I saw that image out there with the bird and the frog's right in this stalk's mouth, and so the frog's got its hands around the stalk's throat. It just occurred to me that it's the same with the expression that you used, Bob, about your head's already in the lion's mouth, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do. We're just not going to win.
Okay.
Yes, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Kat.
Love you all.
Thank you, people online. Love you all.